early one morning to the rising sun. It's bonefish season and they on the run. I gotta find bonefish foley to catch me some. See, when it comes to bonefishing, he's number one. He's bonefish foley. He's so meek and lowly.
He's my one and only bonefish foley, yeah. All right. Pleasant good evening, everybody. Especially to you, our valued listening audience. I say welcome one. I say welcome all. Welcome to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for the night, of course, the gentleman himself, the one and only Mr. Kishno Jones. And yes, we're having ourselves some fun up in here tonight, and the fun has just begun. We're coming to you live via Love 97 FM. This is Tuesday, the 10th day of February 2026. And if it's a Tuesday, tick, tick, tick. It's Maritime Matters. We encourage that if you're driving and tuning in with us, please do so cautiously and ensure to take your time in getting wherever it is you are trying to get safely. As the saying goes, drive to arrive alive. Our sponsors for tonight's show are One-on-One Pharmacy and also Island Care Pharmacy. For all your medication needs, check out my little cousin, Tia Hill McBride. That's my girl. I talked to her today. Although she's a little shy, she always want to be busy, but she had time for me today. Shani, what you saying, girl? And a lovely team at One-on-One Pharmacy in Nassau and Island Care Pharmacy up there in Freeport. Fill your prescription at the store or send your refills via the online site, oneononepharmacy.com. That's One-on-One Pharmacy, all lowercase, all one word, .com. The three locations, 2 Nassau, East Street South, and of course, Charles Sanders Highway. 1 in Freeport. That's along Explorers Way, just the opposite the Region Center. They got that little store tucked right in that point. You got good parking, just go in there. Whatever you want, they got. I saw my girl rolling. That's what I'm talking about. We are secondly sponsored by Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, and we got 2 offices. 1 in Nassau, East Street South, heading towards Porky on your left before you reach Kentucky, that's us. And of course, a second one in the Mayport Building, City Center, Freeport. They say downtown, Freeport. Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, and we do a full slate. We give you anything you want in maritime security. As a matter of fact, we give you everything you want in maritime, but that's too big for us, right? So we stick to maritime security. We got our little niche, and we stick to that. That's how we roll it. And I say good night to my good old Annie Mae. And Annie Mae said, boy, you better stop calling me a boy. Let me some. If you Annie Mae talk, you'll be like, Annie Mae, you sure you over 90? Annie Mae is 92 years old and going strong. Strong. I telling you, she'll be 93 this year, and you would think she in her 50s. Well, sometimes I think she in her 30s. Boy, Annie Mae is something else. When you talk, and you always get her Lauren mix up. She's talk, her Lauren is talk this like. So when you call and they answer the phone, you can better ask who this is. Boy, because Annie Mae will swing you. She'll be letting you run down the path, and then she could bust a laugh. Boy, this is Lauren. But that's my good old Annie Mae up there in Freeport. I tell you that. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we engage discussions on the disputes surrounding Sampson Key proposed resort. We wish also to have dialogue on the outlook on renewable energy in the Bahamas. Boy, I could tell you, you could run, but you can't hide. But that renewable energy, that definitely coming our way. No matter what they say, it's coming our way, yeah? So, we'll also mention, we'll just touch lightly on some other stuff going on, right? What folk are doing in Freeport, what we doing here in Nassau? What ships doing internationally? They're getting what you call double or dual fuel ships. They got ships built to run off natural gas, or they could run off bunker C and convert to natural gas. And that's how they're starting to roll right now. Just to cut down on them CO2 emissions so that they could save the planet some more, right? You see how our weather going these days. Boy, we got a nice cold year this year. This time last year it was still hot. We can't complain but heat this time, but we got plenty coolness, right? And he may always tell me, oh Glenn, I no matter what I do, I got on 2 socks, I got on 3 jackets, I on the 2 blanket and 3, and I still feel cold. I say, yeah, you remind me of my mummy. Boy, that mama, she could get, the wind only had to be a little breezy and hot wind. Man, I close that door. I said, okay, mommy, it ain't that serious, man. It's this hot wind. No. I call. I said, all right, I ain't getting in that. That's some Andres woman, eh? I guess all them Andres women be like that, eh? Especially deep south Andres. They go all the way down to, from Drake's Hill all the way to Beach Key, eh? My people from Beach Key. Some people say from Drake's Hill to Mars Bay. No, boy, past Mars Bay. Drake's Hill to Beach Key, South Andres. That's how we roll. So, please, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to stay tuned as we delve into discussions on these maritime issues. We're talking maritime, people. You're listening to Maritime Matters. At this point, we move to our first break. And when we return, it will be my esteemed pleasure to delve deep, venture deep into these big-time maritime topics. So as they say, we will be right back.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Woke up early one morning to the rising sun. It's bonefish season and they on the run. I gotta find bonefish foley to catch me some. See, when it comes to bonefishing, he's number one. He's bonefish foley.
He's the one and only. He's the one and only. Bonefish Foley. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You are listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. Our producer for the night, Mr. Christian Jones. The primary purpose of this show, our show, is to sensitize Bahamians of opportunities in the maritime sector. We also cover current maritime issues from the domestic and international maritime. We got some of that for you tonight. We got domestic and maritime. We can be carrying on tonight. Trust me. Maritime Matters airs weekly at 17:05. Every Tuesday. Now 17:05, you know that it's 5:05 p.m. We're running a little late today, a couple minutes off today, but guess what? We ready for you. We ready for you tonight. Here on Love 97 FM. The phone number to reach us, should you wish to get in on the discussion, and this could be hot tonight, I can tell you. All kind of things going on here, boy. During the show is 326-8255. That's 326-8255. To hear a replay of this show or any of our previous shows, simply hit us up at any time via our YouTube page. That's Maritime Bahamas, Maritime Matters Bahamas. Just like I and Love and you, Maritime and Matters and Bahamas. Just go to YouTube on your electronic device and type into the search box Maritime Matters Bahamas, and you'll see a litany of shows popping up that we have done in the past. And after a few hours of this show, you'll see this show also added to the list. So feel free to go anytime, download them, listen to them over and over and over again. But while you're listening tonight, we want to hear what you got to say about these topics we could be carrying on with starting shortly. For our hot topics, just like we said before the break, the big one. 200 million smackaroonies. And I was reading somewhere on the internet and they say 300 million smackaroonies. So these people initially said 200 million, now look like it gone to 300 million. Next thing you know, it could be 500 million. But guess what? You know that resort called Rosewood. Ain't nothing to play with. You go to Bahamas, that's the most expensive of the three. So I don't want you to think this Rosewood is no little lightweight operation. So to build a Rosewood in our land and sea park is causing all kind of row. How can we say locally? Boy, they're rowing again. Yeah, row. Rowing because there's a resort next door, well, there's an island next door that is owned by a private owner that is doing some, aesthetically environmental stuff like snorkeling for turtles and you should know that the land and sea park is the most pristine waters in the world on God's earth. And I don't care what nobody tell me, because I've been in it, I've been out of it. I've been all around the Bahamas on ships. All around the Bahamas. I've been in places the locals don't hardly go. Right? So I could tell you, when you're talking about that land and sea park, and then not only around Sampson Key and Darby Island and Wadrick Wells Key and Siston Key and Norman's Key and Highburn Key, and I know where all of them are. I know because I used to have to go there every week for a couple months just as a work at my job. Right? So I am telling you, when you talk about putting a luxurious resort like Rosewood in that pearly area known as the Land and Sea Park, and not only Sampson Key, anywhere you want to put that Rosewood resort, you can get my attention. You can get my attention because beauty is meeting beauty. You get perhaps the most high-end resort in our country being replicated in the Land and Sea Park. And people rowing. We talking about 33 bungalows. I don't know what those bungalows look like, but if they talking about Rosewood, I could only imagine those bungalows would be something that you're talking $500-$600 a day, probably over $1,000 a day to rent one of those bungalows, eh? And on top of that, they gotta have 40 private residences. So you get 33 that are rented. And when you get 33 bungalows for rent, that ain't like a big hotel with 300 rooms. These are high-end people with high money, and they coming to the most pristine spot in the world to feel the goodness, all the goodness to be going on, should this project be allowed to go forward at Sampson Key. And the resort next door, well, it ain't really a resort. Like I say, the experience next door, the facilities next door, which can accommodate a couple people, and you know, they want pristinity. They want, well, is that a word? Pristinity? Mister, don't call me, please. But they want this aesthetic, pristine experience. They don't want no big boats coming in there, talking about they coming to bring cargo 2 or 3 times a week, because this big resort need to be sustained and they need to have all that goodness coming from Florida on an ongoing basis. Because, see, you guys remember now, this next door operation, this was going on now for years. No disturbance. Now all of a sudden, they're going to be disturbed. Now, they can be disturbed. Me or you ain't going to be disturbed. You know. They can be disturbed. You see, in many situations in our country, we have big money people. I remember one time I was working at the port department, right? As the deputy port controller. And I was summoned. Well, I wasn't summoned. I was requested, I guess they requested, but requested in a way that you gotta go and check out this dispute, right? The lawyers and everything, they came and they paid for us to go down to Lyford Key, right, Lyford Key. And they had a situation where 2 neighbors, all of them got plenty money. And it's very similar to when you had those 2 big money fellas with Nygaard Key and what the other gentleman name, I think, who owned the golf course. They were going at it. And me and you, we only small fries, man. We can't get in that. So anyway, these 2 people, money pile up like that, beautiful facilities, and they side by side. And the gentleman had a lawyer call us up there and he said, well, my neighbor has this contraption running through the sand into the water, from a property through the sand into the water, because when she ready to go on a boat, she got this crank. And her boat is behind her out, but she's crank her boat in. And the boat has come all the way in where she could get on a boat without getting wet up. And then she could crank it out once she get on the boat and release the boat and go do a thing and come back and then do the crank thing all over again. So here it is. He got a problem with that. And I kind of understood his plight. Because I know what the law said. The law said you can't own nothing more than 50 feet of the high water mark. That beach belongs to the government. That's free space, free area. And the thing is, you walk around the island of New Providence, and you tend to see a lot of areas where people try to put groins and try block off their beach from people walking along their beach. They won't block it off so you can't even walk on the government beach because they will reserve it for only them. Oh, and I know some of them places, I could tell you, right? And then we got a lot of situations, of course, where we're supposed to have beach access all over the island. There's no beach that we should not have access to in New Providence as Bahamians. But they block off so much of our beach, especially in the western area. Boy, the prettiest beach in the world blocked off by some people I know, right? But I ain't talking, we ain't really want to talk too much about that. But anyway, back to Lyford Key. So, Me and Ian, I think I'd carry Ian Ford and Molly with me. Man, couple of us, we carry a team. We trying to tag team now, right? We going out there, me, Ian, and Molly. Ian Ford. And Cyril Molly. And of course, you go off us what we want to drink. We ain't drinking no beer on the man job. So I must drink. I know I drink anything, right? So man, let's see what's going on. So this lawyer took us out. He came out with us. Old man, I think he was rushing or something. Anyway, he had plenty of money. And when we got on there, he said, look, we've been having this problem for years now. This woman put this contraption here. And if I walk in the beach in the evening time, sometime I won't walk the beach in the dark. I assume he be walking the beach and he ain't trying to do no skullduggery, right? But he won't walk the beach in the dark. And this chain and tackle contraption, it's a problem because he's have to make sure walk over that and don't let his toe get hit or this or that. And the beach supposed to be free. Mind you, that's a nice beach. I mean, they got plenty good beach out life at Key, right? Anybody who's freaking out there, who's been out there, they know. The beaches out there nice. And I told him, I said, you know what? This should not be. Because under our regulations, I think it's lands and survey, right? Because I looked it up one time ago, and that area is supposed to be unrestricted. Now, how the lady next door got authorization to put that contraption down is a different story. Because she could have applied. Mind you, I never got to the bottom of it, because let me tell you what happened. and I never forget this, right? And it's so true. The lawyer, while we was outside, pulled me back and let them said go in the house. He say, Mr. Ben, I'm going to talk to you for a second. And he pulled me in the corner and he said, you know what? I know you was the authority on these kind of things because you work for the port department and this and that and the next. He said, nice the fellow lawyer. He said, but let me tell you something. This dude got plenty of money. That woman got plenty of money. She get a lawyer just like he get a lawyer. He saying, I can't get in these two big money people business. Yes, I can represent them wherever I could. But if that woman got permission to put it there, it's in my business. Right? Say, and if a lawyer could show, then that's another set of authorities and this and that and the next. You say, Mr. Payne, do me a favor. Don't even hurt your head with this thing. Say, just talk to him casually. And when you leave here, man, leave this alone. Let them big money people fight it out. I say, well, underneath. Well, I was like, I there trying to figure out what I could tell this man to pacify him, right? And here it is. I even hear porn. I can't even make porn category in this game of chess. Because this is going on with lawyers and courts and stuff. For a little while, I only coming on the tail and I don't know what he want me to do. But I say that to say, you got these two big money people. Well, I don't know if this fella, he might have more money than the people who own Rosewood. Some of these people have some money you don't know about, They may have their big thing going on somewhere else, but when they're in the Bahamas, they got their little quality thing going on because they ain't needed to be that big because they only come in here every now and then, right? But anyway, they are two big money people. And the reality is, this thing is now trickling down to the residents of Black Point. And when I say the residents of Black Point, now Stanley Key is right nearby. Because what can happen is should this resort go forward and we get a nice spanking resort, Rosewood Resort, right? Which I like to see. I mean, I know all the details, but based on what I know, I would love to see it. Because let me tell you something. We can have that land and sea park. We have the largest seagrass meadows, the largest banks in the world in our country. And it's undisputable that even when the astronauts are in space and they look down on the earth and they want to have an idea what they're looking at because they only could see the part with the sun shining on. They can only see where daylight is when they're in space, right? And they look for one of two things. And these two things are opposite each other. So if they see one, but they have to see one. Because the two ain't can never be missing. So on the surface of the earth, when they look down, they look for the Great Walls of China because it is that extravagant that even in space they could see those ruins of those walls. And the second thing they look for is the waters of the Bahamas, because the waters of the Bahamas are like no other in the world. We take up enough space, and we got this beautiful blue reflection and variations of blue and green and dark blue and this and that. And boy, let me tell you something. Our waters are strikingly beautiful. And then those astronauts have that, oh, well, we can see the Bahamas. We know which part of the earth we're looking at. Oh, we can see the Great Wall of China. We know what part of the earth we're looking at. You know how stunning that is? To be one of two countries in the entire world that the astronauts use to identify where on earth they're looking at. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's go back to Rosewood. In the most stunning portion of our country, you know the Land and Sea Park is a protected area. And you're talking about, I think it's 120 miles long and about 80 miles wide, 60 to 80 miles wide of just protected waters. And I had a good friend, may his soul rest in peace, Brother Peter Patton. Worked together in the Defense Force, and he went on to be the captain of one of the bigger yachts that do charters in the Bahamas, right? And Peter knows every, and he used to tell me, he said, boy, Cap, I wasn't Cap, I was a lieutenant when I was on the force. Boy, Lou, them fellas, them wardens in the Land and Sea Park, and I'm going to call the fella name who was the big warden who used to run. He said, boy, they used to run us, because he's from Black Point. So he always just go sneaking around in the Land and Sea Park trying to catch some fish, right? Because, you know, they say the fish in the Land and Sea Park dying from old age, and the conch, you see the conch and group and all come floating ashore sometimes, because they done dead, you know, they just too old, right? Because nobody is allowed to go there and do no commercial fishing. Now, we know, fellas in their yacht and in their boat, sometimes just go there and while they there, they catching fish, and then some of them is one fully coolers. And then the other day, we lock up some fellas, because they was doing commercial fishing in the Land and Sea Park. They had their boat on the outside, look like a yacht, but on the inside, all kind of commercial freezers. And they used to come all the time, fill them up, go back and sell them and keep coming. They was making money off us. They spend when they clear the boat, I understand, not even as a foreign yacht under the charter permit system. They clear the boat as a pleasure boat and raking the fish every time they come. Anyway, they get catch, they get locked up. I know they got to pay some fine, and if we let them go on home yet, because we know they don't come back, right? But anyway, this Rosewood Resort, in all its splendor, once there, will hire a lot of Bahamians. Now, the other resort we talk about, they might hire 10 people year round. But this one, can hire hundreds of Bahamians. And the people of the Black Point are saying, man, look here, let's get this thing going. We home here. We ain't got much going on. We wish you could have put that resort in Black Point. Right? But if it got to be in Sampson, you could provide transportation, you could provide sea transportation for the workers to get to and from, you could provide living accommodation and all the rest. And you're dealing with high-end people so you can get tip, eh? You'd be a bartender over there straight. And so we got a situation now where the other key don't want this built. And they get one or two persons they talking to. Tell them, man, you're going to make noise. Don't let them put this in the Land and Sea Park. You know how far the Land and Sea Park is, or Sampson Key is, from Black Point? You think the people in Black Point to feel any effect if a resort is built in the Land and Sea Park? They can't even see. Not even a piece of the land. Even the people in Stanley Key who are even closer to Sampson Key can't see a piece of the Land and Sea Park from where they are. They got to go by boat and take a couple, but 15, 20 minutes before they even reach the Land and Sea Park, right? So we're talking about a situation where the Land and Sea Park has the Rosewood Resort operators got an approval to put this resort there. And an entity right next door, very close, don't want to see it there because it's going to disturb what they get going on. Not what the Bahamian people get going on now, but what they get going on. And so it becomes a ruckus. And Rosewood already altered the plan to minimize the impact of environmental activities, to minimize the size of the resort, to minimize the length of the slip. You remember Sampson Key some time ago used to be a marina. They closed, and about 10 years ago they closed down, right? But I've been to Sampson Key a couple of times. It was nice little place to stop. You could get fuel in the small boats. They had a little tuck shop and things like that. You could go buy your chocolate and your potato chip and that type of thing. But like I said, that closed down over 10 years ago. And now they want to put something huge there. They want to put a real resort that could hire hundreds of Bahamians from Stanley Key and Stanley Key. And the people coming to that resort, these people would have to come through Stanley Key Airport, because ain't no other commercial airport in that area. They haven't go all the way to Black Point. So they come through Stanley Key Airport. High-end people have to be transported by Stanley Key people. And of course, a lot of the Stanley Key people would be able to get jobs. But Stanley Key only get a handful of people, and most of them working one week, you know. But that don't mean the rest. Some people might want to come home, back to Stanley Key, out of Nassau, this hustle and bustle, to get a job at that resort as a server or a bartender or a housekeeper or doing landscaping. Because we probably get enough having is somebody get a landscaping contract and bring some other people who don't even live in them areas to do landscaping. But that's neither here nor there. The reality is the spin-off from this resort will have a significant positive impact on employment between Stanley Key, Farmers Key, and Black Point. Because they're the three keys where Bahamian settles, right? In that area. There's nowhere else in the Exuma Keys where you have a good cadre of Bahamians. It's Stanley Key, Black Point, and Farmers Key. Well, Farmers Key being the furthest one away from the Land and Sea Park, eh? But you don't need no reason why some of those people can't go back home to Farmers Key and they could go and work. Because when you go to the work, you don't have to be going home every day. You could go there, doing 2-3 weeks, or 2-3 months, like how some of these on these private islands, these cruise ship private islands is do. And then once you get through with that, you go back home for a week or two, and then you're back again. So the opportunities that this Rosewood Resort on Sampson Key will bring to the locals, in my opinion, far outweighs whatever damage these people trying to cook up to say, oh, the seagrass in the area gonna catch hell, they gotta do some dredging, oh, why don't they put the big dock on the next side? Because it's all the complaints are coming from another entity out there that are not Bahamians. And everybody got rights to speak out. I got nothing against the other entity. But my thing is, if you want to build a house, don't you have to clear down some trees to dig your footing and put down your foundation, and you gotta cut down some hills to bring some fill, and we always disturbing the environment. If you want to build a marina anywhere in Nassau, we got plenty of marinas. You think when Atlantis Marinas be, how much dredging going on? When there's building that dock space out by out Cable Beach, I mean for more than one property. Cable Beach have all. Well, let me tell you something. That when I was at the port, we had a committee called Docks Committee, and that used to be busy because people always put groins. People always tampering with the coastline, which tampers with Mother Nature. For you to have development in your country, you have to tamper with nature. Now, you have to do it responsibly. And in our country, especially in our land and sea park, we will make sure it's being done responsibly. But when you're looking at a little small key, because we get plenty keys bigger than Sampson Key in the land and sea park, okay? But I'm sure the owners would have thought about the access to an airport, the access to wakers, and all the rest of that. And that's why they ended up selecting Sampson Key. 306-8255 is the number to call. You're listening to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and we are discussing the $200 million proposed Sampson Key development in the state of a resort under the ROSEWOOD brand. Them high-end, plenty money operations. Is it fair for that to be built in our land and sea park where they will disturb some of not only the aesthetics but the environmental setup in that vicinity of the land and sea park? Is it fair that somebody should try and stop that from being built? Which means a lot of Bahamians who would rely on that, a lot of Bahamians who would go back home just to be employed there, would no longer have that opportunity because some other entity feel like it's going to disturb their operation. You all ain't saying nothing? 326-8255. Ain't nobody listening to me from Staniel Key or from Black Point or from Farmers Key or there's been a land and sea park. No, nobody? Well, okay. Unless you're called to say something, that means I finish with that, right? Then we will move on to our renewable energy list of operations we got to talk about when we get back from our break. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Maritime Matters. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain again. And my producer, our lovely producer for the night is Mr. Kishno Jones himself. Thank you.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Woke up early one morning to the rising sun. It's bonefish season and they on the run. I gotta find.
I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain, and we are discussing a lot of maritime stuff today. We just finished licking the proposed Sampson Key development, the Rosewood Resort project. The goodness, the not so goodness. We don't know if it's going to happen. I only hope it happens. And we're now going to be going to renewable energy. The world is being taken up right now with this renewable energy operations. And then we'll discuss a little bit why and a little bit what's going on, right? Again, the number to call is 326-8255. If you want in on a discussion, 326-8255. Now, we have a situation where the world has come to realize that our planet, the Earth, is being disturbed. We're having big time disturbances based on smashing or massive hurricanes and typhoons, earthquakes, and the like. And these things are happening, and even in the weather pattern. We will notice that we almost had snow in Freeport the other day. We'll notice that it's having extreme cold sometimes, and it's having extreme hot or heat sometimes. And the heat part, I have an answer for. But most of this is because the atmosphere itself is not stable anymore. It is not stable because a lot of the heat that are generated and that the sun creates is being trapped in a biosphere. Big word? No, that's no big word. Biosphere is basically the area around the crust of the earth where life can exist. You see, if you dig a mile into the ground, anything beyond a mile is the earth's crust. Ain't nothing to live in the earth's crust. You can live on the topsoil and that type of thing, but the crust itself, ain't nothing to live there. You ain't getting no oxygen. You ain't getting no carbon dioxide. You ain't getting nothing. The crust don't have no space. It's like rock, right? So after the crust of the earth is the earth itself. We walking on the earth, gravity keeping us, and the trees, they grow on the earth, and the animals and everything in the sea is there where the fish live, and you got your oceans and your banks and all the rest of that stuff. And so after that, you got another set of life where, because on Earth's crust now, you in that soft space, you got worms and stuff like that. Then you got people like animals, plants and animals like us who live on the Earth's surface. And then in the air, you get birds. Well, birds don't live in there. Birds have to land because they can't be flying all the time. It ain't enough there for them to rest on. So they got to come down to the surface on the trees or on the rocks or whatnot, on the mountain tops to rest themselves. But the birds can only go so far up, because if they go too high, they ain't gonna be getting enough oxygen. Plus, the pressure will cause them to die. And you got some birds that can go higher than others and all the rest of that stuff. So that biosphere that we're in is being impacted by machines that men made in the past 300-400 years. If all that. Maybe 300-400 years, right? Because they start making cars, then they start making generators and boat engines and plane engines. And so over a period of time, man has been making machines, and now we got big generators that's supplying us with power. So when we home, we could plug in a radio, plug in your TV, plug in your iron. You could plug things in and get instant power to do what it is you want to do for your own use, right? And that power has to come from generators that all machinery, not just those generators, all machinery to operate needs oxygen. Because all machinery are combustible. They need something to make something turn in order to get power. Right? And I'm not talking about appliances like your fridge. No, something is supplying them with the power they need when they plug in. And whatever is supplying them has to have combustion in order to make that energy. So when you think about your car, your engine have to have combustion because your car ain't plugging into nothing. Now some may argue, oh, but we got EVs. They don't have no combustion. No, they don't have combustion, but you got to plug them in to charge them. And wherever you plug them in, you're getting source from combustible engine. Right? And what has been happening with all of those combustible engines? Every time that combustion chamber energizes, a piston go down and come back up, they exhale or exhaust carbon, whether it be carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, but they excrete carbon as a byproduct of that combustion. And so eventually what happened is so much carbon is now being produced on Earth that it is actually going into the air and forming blockage. It's forming this blockage of carbon. And what happens is once heat gets into those carbon molecules, they expand and get heavy. And the blockage is even more effective. And so when the natural occurrence of the day happens, you know what happens in the day? The sun comes up, the sun shines, the sun heats up the earth, the core, right? So that we can have heat. And then when the sun goes down, it's nighttime, the core ain't getting no more heat, so the core start to emit heat naturally because the sun gone in another area now. And while the nighttime that heat is escaping from the core, it normally goes into space, right? It goes beyond the biosphere into space. And again, the biosphere is where life can exist. It goes beyond the biosphere into space. And what happens? Now that all this carbon blockage is in place, from all those machinery that man made, the ships, the planes, the cars, the electrical supply, stations, all the rest of them, they emitting a lot of carbon, and all those carbon are now clinking and blocking that heat from escaping when nighttime comes, and it's getting trapped around us. And then when the sun comes the next day, it heat up the earth again, and when dark comes, it trying to escape, and it's trapped, and it's getting blocked. So we're getting a lot of heat, and that heat is not only impacting around the equator where the sun kind of moves from side to side, because it has so much around the equator, it's starting to spread out to the North Pole and the South Pole. And so you get a lot of glaciers, all this big ice now starting to melt. And as these big ice are melting because of that heat traveling all the way up there, the oceans are starting to rise. Because the water from that melting ice is in the ocean. So now you're starting to get high oceans. And if that continues, because I want you to know the North Pole is nothing but ice. Right? South Pole, Antarctica, nothing but ice. So if those ice start to melt away, the oceans would continue to rise inch by inch until the water level would start coming into land. And unfortunately for us, we're not like Jamaica and Barbados and St. Lucia and them. They got hills. So the water really wouldn't penetrate too much because the water can come uphill. But for us, man, that water be flat like pancake. So that water will just engulf us. The Bahamas as we know it, over a period of decades will be gone. If the world does not do something about this heat being trapped and cause that carbon that's creating the blockage to move off. When the heat is trying to get out of the earth crust, it will actually go into space where it's supposed to go. And then the stability of the environment will come back. We'll have less vicious hurricanes, less vicious flooding. But you see how much flooding we have all over the place? How much forest fires we have all over the place? So I mean, even in Freeport, even in Nassau, I know what I had to actually fight fire when I was in Freeport the other day, because all along the highway fires was just springing up. Ain't nobody was doing it. Somebody there. No, but who do it in Nassau down here by the airport? This is just how hot things are getting and how dry these bushes are getting. And so one little brush and you got a fire. That's why they call them brush fire, you know. Because a bottle eaten up against an old dry piece of leaf could start a fire. You don't want to try pick up one of them bottles when it's really hot. Your hand will fry. So the reality, people, is the world, by way of the United Nations and its undergarments, like the IMO for the ships, ICAO for the planes, and all of the power generating all over the place. The earth, the world is finding a way to ensure that somehow we have a reversal, and that carbon that is trapped is no longer building up more, but starting to decline. And the only way we could do that is by stopping carbon emissions. And this is what this COP28 and COP15 and this is what this COP thing was all about. They had I think the first one was in Paris, and they decided we can get together as a global unit and put measures in place to mitigate and eventually alleviate carbon from being emitted into the environment. And then they gave that date of 2040, that you can't even put carbon in there no more from no machinery. And then they moved that to 2045, and now it's 2050. Excuse me. They're saying you can't put carbon in there no more. They say that in 2035, those ice, boy, when they say ice now, people just want to jump, eh? ICE, the internal combustible engines. I ain't talking about ICE in the US who beating up all them people and stuff, right? We talking about the internal combustible engine, ICE. In 2035, no more cars would be made with engines. We will have only EVs being made after 2035. You still got plenty combustible engine cars around, because they can make some in 2034, eh? And the sad thing about this whole thing is these internal combustible engines that cars have today, they are so efficient. I mean, you can hardly hear when they're on. And when they moving through, man, let me tell you something. It's a shame we have to now resort from using combustible engines for anything. Because we have come so far that the cars ain't burning much fuel no more. The kind of oil they have is last for 2-3 years. You can service them so often. But of course, they still emitting carbon, eh? And the good thing about it, though, is that our electric vehicles, EVs, our EVs, are becoming so efficient as well. And you know what the good thing is about the EVs? They don't have no ICE. They have no internal combustible engine. They only have one big battery. And so they don't even have no muffler, you know that? No muffler in them EVs. Because what they need muffler for if they have no exhaust? So now we're finding that EVs are closing in and projected to soon overtake internal combustible engine vehicles. And this brings that not a paradigm shift, that big shift from Japanese vehicles, German vehicles. You know, Germany's make them nice Mercedes and BMWs and Volkswagen and all them kind of good things, right? All that goodness. But now, all that have to turn to EVs. I don't making the batteries for EVs. Who getting the rare earth material that's required, the cobalt and whatever them funny thing. I never do physics and chemistry, right? But the rare earth materials to create these batteries are found in abundance in China. And then they saying they got plenty of it in places like right around that Arctic, that North Pole Arctic area, right? Because you know the north is the Arctica and the south is the Antarctica. I know a little bit. I won't try to show off, but I know a little bit, right? So that Arctic circle has 3 countries in it. Well, 3.5. I call it the US half because they only got Alaska. Alaska have a small piece of it, right? Excuse me. But you got Russia got most of it. You know, Russia's the largest country in the world. I don't know if you all know that. America or the US could fit in Russia about 4 or 5 times. China could fit in Russia more than 3 times. Russia is huge. And most of the land in the Arctic Circle belongs to Russia. And they saying most of that land is rich in those minerals as well. So after China can find and use plenty theirs, Russia can start using some of theirs. And Canada, you remember when our good friend President Donald Trump said, we're going to annex Canada. Mr. Trump already realized that the U.S. don't have none of that rare earth minerals needed to make solar panels and wind farms or windmills. So China making them all basically, and America got to buy them, and everybody else in the world got to buy them. China making all the EVs, this thing called BYD, build your dream car. They number 1 in the world, and they're all over the place now, but not in the U.S. So you got this big war going on as a result of this renewable energy, right? Where China is getting rich by having something that the rest of the world need. And the US is saying, we're not buying that. We don't want China to be holding all this power by having the lead on the rest of the world and making all these batteries and all these solar panels. So, Mr. Trump say America ain't into no renewable energy. You all don't bring that to us. We're going to drill, baby, drill. Use oil. We can continue our fossil fuel. You know, we got to make some money too. And then after, I guess Canada put up such a fuss, there was a move to get Greenland. Because again, Greenland takes up a big part of the Arctic Circle. So Greenland also have some of this rare earth minerals up in there. A lot of it. If the US could have direct access to that without going through another country, then they could start windmills and so on, and they wouldn't have to rely on China. They could start selling to other countries in the world, and they would continue to make plenty money, right? You know, the US don't want to never be number 2. They always want to be the richest country in the world, and I can't blame them. And the thing about it is we're right next to them, so man, when they win, we win. Now, I don't care what you all say. 326-8255. If you got a different view on that, give me a call and let me know what your view is. 326-8255. So, here it is now. The world wants to cut out all this internal combustible engine and start getting power from Mother Nature. The sun. Now, you know, the sun is a big ball of nuclear. The sun got more energy than anything else you could think of in the hemisphere, right? Well, not only in the hemisphere, in the entire, what you call that thing, when you got all the planets and all this, the galaxy, in the entire galaxy, the sun provides the energy. Excuse me. And so the sun, by way of solar panels, once you get some solar panels with those cells that can attract and convert the sun energy into usable energy, then you don't need energy from engines no more. And what we found was in the year 2025, last year, because of all these moves for renewable energy, the world number 1 source of energy last year was solar. It used to be coal. Coal used to be the number 1 source of energy, providing the world with energy. With all these electrical plants all over the place, they used to use coal, break down the coal and fuel. Well, of course, Bunker C for the most part, they got machinery with diesel and gas, but you know, diesel and gas expensive. But anyway, solar took over coal last year as the number 1 source of energy. And when solar become number 1, that means the number 1 source is not putting carbon in the environment. And you know it's soon going to be number 2. Wind farms. Yes, you hear Mr. Trump say, oh, those wind farms are dangerous. They kill the birds. They kill the birds and they're no good. They're no good. Right? Well, you know, that's being viewed that way because obviously you're not going to get a windmill or wind farm unless you get those blades and those structures from China, because they got all the material to make these things. And every time that windmill turns, it needs the, what you call it, the raceway. You need the wiring. You need something to so that energy can be transferred from the windmill to the shore or to a bank of batteries or whatever, so whatever you could use to store that energy and feed it to your communities. And one of those windmills, I was reading, can give you up to 3 to 4 kilowatts of energy. Those 3 to 4 kilowatts per day, it's a lot of energy. And we are now in a situation where the world is moving, because now you can remember now, only like between 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south of the equator could solar be effective year round. And only in the daytime. So you can need that battery to store the excess solar power you generate in the daytime, so when nighttime comes, that could continue to feed your house, right? But in the areas north of 30 degrees, which is most of the world, you have the wind farms, because they have stronger winds than us near the equator. And their wind farm work on a 24-hour basis. Their wind farm don't only wake when the sun out. So they make up by way of that. So those wind farms are just as effective as solar. And right now, if we could get enough solar in our country to replace what BPL has in place by way of fossil fuel, it will cost us a lot less. Well, it costs us far less than we pay in today. We would no longer be generating carbon in the environment. Everything will be cleaner. And then if we get a bunch of EVs on top of that, instead of these ICE engines, we'll be using our solar to power EVs. And our country can have itself totally weaned away from fossil fuels or from emitting carbon into the environment. And that's easy to do. The government could incentivize the people of this country to have every roof loaded with solar, so that we'll have and everybody feeding to the grid, the electrical grid that the country that is used to power everybody's house. They have a grid. They usually start from Clifton Pier, some of it on Blue Hill Road. When that one go out, they turn on that one with all the diesel, and we pay extra money for fuel. But if we get a grid, or feed our grid with solar from each one of our homes or each one of our roofs, the government wouldn't even need to put no big banks of solar in place, because our roof could hold more solar energy than our homes need. And then we still could go in certain places. And very recently, you saw the Minister for Energy, Jobette Kobe Davis, and the Prime Minister viewing the sites just an extreme west of Soldier Road there on the back of Blue Hill Road, right? Blue Hills. Because I've seen them, and it's a beautiful site. Solar on top of solar on top of solar. It's a solar farm that is very impacting, very beautiful. And it's being said now that the generation of that solar has reformed NASA to the extent where we are saving $120 million in fuel costs. That's a big savings. But if we solarize the whole place, you probably be saving over $1 billion, eh? But what do we want to do? We want to go to natural gas. So our government wants to go in bed or get in bed with companies to put a natural gas processing plant at Clifton Pier. That means the ship will bring the liquefied natural gas, and the plant will process the liquefied natural gas and convert it to gas that could be used to operate machinery that will continue to feed our grid. Because right now the machinery is being fed with bunker C, with that old gassy, inexpensive sludge, eh? But that is more expensive than natural gas, or liquefied natural gas. And that puts about 50% more carbon into the environment than natural gas. So what we're being sold with is that we are improving because we're moving from from bunkersy to natural gas. And that's a move, that's a good move, except, in my opinion, it's Glenn Bain talking now. This is my opinion. In my opinion, we should be moving from bunkersy to full solar. Because we are directly in the solar belt. We are so fortunate to be able to get so much sunlight year round. Some countries wish they was able to do that. But no, they got to go and get wind farms or windmills and create wind farms. But we're blessed with solar because now solar is cheaper than even wind farms. So the question is, why is the Bahamas not moving to be fully solarized? Immediately, not later, because we can afford to do it now. And your guess is just as good as mine. 326-8255. That's the number to call if you want to know on this discussion. Y'all just want to hear me run on, right? And I ain't got no problem running on. I could run on forever. Because there's so much out there on this renewable energy topic. Why is the world moving toward renewable energy? Because we have to stop the blockage of carbon. And renewable energy simply means energy from Mother Nature. Energy from the sun, energy from the wind. You don't need no more than that. With those two combinations, you get the whole world covered with no problems. You don't need to turn on the engine and put carbon in there no more. And I could guarantee you that the world has moved tremendously and continue to move in a rapid pace toward having renewable energy. Take care of all the power needs for the entire globe, except the United States. Because the United States is saying, look, we have been the dominant figures when it comes to production of energy or sources to create energy. And now if we go to renewable energy, we're no longer in the game. We got to be biased. We got to buy solar. We got to buy wind farms. And ain't nobody buying it from us. But of course, with the acquisition of Greenland, the United States will have enough to be producing these things locally and selling them to the rest of the world, just like China. So that's how we're hoping, right? Since y'all didn't call, I can take another break. When they come back, we can tidy up on loose ends. Got one or two more topics to go on the same renewable energy. Look like y'all like this topic, or y'all don't like it, but what happened? Ain't nobody who didn't know about renewable energy. Ain't nobody who don't care about renewable energy. Ain't nobody want to know nothing. You don't want to find out. Come on, man, let's talk. Let's talk. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to listening in to Maritime Matters. I am your host, Captain Glenn Bain. My producer for the night, of course, Mr. Kishno Jones himself. And we are talking about renewable energy. Earlier we talked about the proposed Sampson Key development where Rosewood Resort is being built, etc., etc. At this point, we'll take our final break. And when we return, we're going to tally up. Thank you very much.
At One-on-One Pharmacy, our friendly staff is ready to serve you. Visit us today for all your prescription and over-the-counter needs at our East Street South or Charles Saunders Highway locations. We're open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and from 9 to 4 on Sundays. In a rush? Send your refill scripts online at oneononepharmacy.com or ask about our convenient pickup service. One-on-One Pharmacy, providing personal health care with people at heart. At Bahamas Maritime Connection Limited, we offer first-class maritime security services throughout the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. As experts in maritime security, we specialize in production of ISPS assessments and plans, verification audits, certified familiarization training, and port security consultancy, just to name a few. Our services also include provision of a security force to maintain all required ISPS facility security compliance. For all your maritime security needs, visit us today in Nassau at our East Street South location or in Freeport in the Kipling Building. Call us at 392-3515 or follow us on all social media platforms. Bahamas Maritime Connection, your leader in maritime security. Let's help you make the connection.
Woke up early one morning to the rising sun. It's bonefish season and they on the run. I gotta find bonefish foley to catch me some. See, when it comes to bonefishing, he's number one. He's bonefish foley. He's so meek and lowly. Bonefish
You're listening to Maritime
He's the one and only
Matters. On this show, we talk maritime. Maritime Matters airs weekly, every single week, every Tuesday, 5:05 p.m. That's 17:05 every Tuesday, every week, right here on Love 97 FM. I'm your host, Captain Glenn Bain, producer for the night, Mr. Kishno Jones. And we are talking development in the land and sea park by Rosewood Resource on Sampson Key. There's a big dispute going on, eh? Developers are now facing battles of questions as to how they're going to press on, or if they will press on, or if they will be allowed to press on. Because if we have protests, I figure there's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of benefits to those not only who live in the land and sea park, but other Bahamians. We may not be able to find enough housekeepers in those three keys: Daniel Key, Black Point, and Farmers Key. We may not be able to find enough landscapers. We may not be able to find enough managers. We may not be able to find enough bartenders, servers, etc., etc., etc. Electricians, plumbers. They gotta have a lot of engineering going on too, eh? So, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's continue to develop our country, of course, in a very responsible way, but develop it all the same. I say, Rosewood, you got my tick. Number to call is 326-8255 if you want to know this discussion. We are also talking renewable energy. It's time, right? This time saying we got 2 minutes left. This can't be right, man. Let me check my next time. Well, great. 2 minutes left. Boy, we ain't get to do all of our renewable energy. But I think you got the gist. Renewable energy in the sense that the earth is experiencing too much carbon being emitted by way of fossil fuel, by way of anything that is combusted and gives off carbon dioxide. That carbon goes into the air. It mixes sometimes with heat. It gets heavy. It sits there. It blocks the other rest of heat from trying to escape the earth in the nighttime. And it's creating disturbances like we've never seen, eh? So we got to do something about that. And we're doing something because we now turn to Mother Nature to make, we're using wind farms to use the wind for energy. And we're making solar panels with batteries and all the rest of that. We're making cars with batteries instead of combustible engines, so that trains, planes, you name it. That's the way we got to roll. And then well, we want to get to what the U.S. did at IMO the other day when they did with a net zero framework. But unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. Look here, somebody will call at the last second. I guess we got to go in over time.
Ben,
Call you on Maritime Matters. Hello.
Ben, you talk too much, man. Slow down for a little while.
I with you, man. Go my break. Wait, I thank you so much for calling and giving me this break.
Talk too much, man. Slow down for a little while.
Man, thanks, man. Go my break, man. You talk for the rest of the show. Go ahead.
But I listened to some of the things you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
The average Bahamian is never going to be able to afford solar because it is not cheap.
Yeah, but government could incentivize it and help us to afford it, eh? If the government if the government's spending $200 million just to put a regasification plant at Clifton Pier, you don't think the government can help some Bahamians to no, it's cheap, but on the back, it's cheap on the front end, but on the back end, you're getting your money back. You know that, right?
And the same government. Let me get back to the first point.
Yeah, because when we speak of the government now, we're not talking about the PLP administration, no. We're just talking about whoever's the governor of the Bahamas.
I ain't worrying with the PLP manager. I said the government.
All right, sorry. I with you. Go ahead.
Solar is not cheap. The average Bahamian will never be able to afford it.
But the average Bahamian should not have to afford it, because if the government can use their roof to put solar panels, they can incentivize them and they get the money back every month.
And the same governments, all of them, when they go to COP26 this year, they're going on 3 and 4 engine jets.
Yes.
Think about that for a little while.
Yeah, they have to. At this time. But all that will change by 2050.
You ain't gonna be around, I ain't gonna be around.
Well, I don't know if I can be around for 2050. I hope to be around, but if I don't be around, it's gonna still change. It ain't gonna be changing contingent on me being around.
We go to COP25 talking about eco-friendly and all that, but we still chopping downhill that fellas are getting crushing machines. Think about that for a little while.
Yeah, we doing that, and we was always doing that, but now we get find ways to stop doing that.
Where you can get the fill from?
Well, you could import fill. You see where they're getting all the fill. You see where all the fill coming from in Freeport, eh? They digging it out the ground.
Exactly, and what happens there? They end up with.
They ended up with big. They ended up with plenty marinas, plenty dock space, plenty deep water harbors.
Where they digging that fill from, and right down there by the airport, you can go down there too and look at it. They got lakes there with are blue, but you can't pull up a boat into it.
Well, I mean, you talking about down by Queens Cove?
I'm talking about right here in Nassau.
Oh, our airport.
Our airport right here in Nassau.
We digging up some stuff here in our water here in Nassau.
Inland, not in our water, inland.
Yeah, we always had those lakes though. I thought you said we doing some digging.
Right down there by New Providence Development and see how much blue ponds we got in Nassau where they was digging fill from. And no boat could get to it.
Well, they wasn't digging that for boats to get to it, eh?
I know.
Well, I with you.
We worry about why the hurricanes are getting so intense.
No, but but that's the carbon and the air causing that, right? But I'm saying that this digging happening because we allowing it to happen. We need to enforce our laws and do what we have to do. See, when we shooting ourselves in the foot because corruption and people paying to do things what they shouldn't do, I mean that's on us. We can't blame Mother Nature for that.
One thing, the reality is, you still need to fill in your yard. Where you can get it from?
I just told you, you could import it.
You still need to go to top 26 on a 3 and 4 engine jet.
But yeah, all that could change. That's why they're giving us a timeline.
The person in NASA is never going to afford solar.
They're never going to do what?
Afford solar.
No, that's not true. You will see solar within the next 10 years. You'll see that at least about half of the houses in Nassau will have solar on their roof. At least about half. You will see that. I can tell you will see that. Solar is becoming cheaper and cheaper every day.
Who's going to front the bill?
Solar is becoming cheaper and cheaper every day. We got the government incentivized it so that the whole country could win, man. That's where we need to go. We just need to see what needs to happen and make it happen, you know.
You can solar dream. Plenty people in Nassau is going to have solar, but it's not going to be the average person.
Well, it will eventually pick up because the whole island is going to be solarized, and when the whole island becomes solarized, energy is going to become far cheaper than it is today. I don't know why we're wasting time with natural gas, because that's only a step towards solar.
If that is the case, why so much pike trucks on the road?
Because Pike need to make money.
Okay.
And that's what I'm trying to tell you. We need to do away with all of that and go straight to solar.
Dream.
No, I'm not talking about dreams. I'm talking about reality.
Don't mind what the energy minister get up in the house and talk about. You've been sold a dream.
All right, so I'm with you on that. Yeah, you had the last say. Our time is gone. We're 5 minutes over.
I gonna get your number from Hoibu so I could talk to you some more.
Man, call early in the show so we could really talk good, man. But I give you my number, 359-1424. You ain't get it from nobody. 359-1424. Call me anytime. Let's talk.
359-1424. Okay.
Yeah, call me anytime. Let's talk. No problem on my end. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the final call. We have expired our time by 5 minutes. Boy, that's why I like my good producer, Kishno Jones. He always let me go over. I don't know if he's getting Ralph for it, but he's let me go over by a couple of minutes, right? You have been listening to Maritime Matters. On the show, we talk maritime. Our show is wrapping up. As you know, I want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to listen to Maritime Matters. I want to thank my good producer for keeping us alive and kicking and moving into this last phase where we're closing out. I want to say good night to Auntie May. I want to thank my sponsors: Bahamas Maritime Connection, 101 Pharmacy, Island Care Pharmacy. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, just like that, as we always say, Maritime Matters. Tick, 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 tick.
Shallow flats and garden key are his drops in the bite. He say that's where they does be. For many years he been taking out celebrities like U.S. President Nixon.
One people, one music, your station. Love 97.